بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما تعلمنا وزدنا بفضلك علما وتعليما إنك على كل شيء قدير. So as we mentioned last week, the Imam Malik is not teaching us fiqh. He's bringing up issues. It's like public statements, right? So when the head of the police makes a public statement, he's dealing with an issue. He's not talking about explaining what he does in life and where things are, right? So you already know that you're in a city. You already know that there is such thing as police. You already know that such thing as crime. You know this, and then he makes a public statement about a particular event. That's what Imam Malik is doing. The audience already knows the backdrop. What he knows is a debate, and he's saying public statement on behalf of the scholars of Medina X, right? So this is what he does at the beginning of the chapter. But before we do that, we just want to kind of get familiar with the main ideas, right? So main ideas, you can't sell something that is vague. You can't, the value, meaning the amount that you're going to pay for it, whatever you're doing has to be clear. And the service slash the item of sale has to be clear, right? Because otherwise I don't know what I'm buying. And we mentioned that last week. And then we mentioned exceptions to it, etc., etc., etc. Right? And I believe also on the WhatsApp group, where was it? Um, yeah. Can you see that question on the Islam QA? In general, I'm just going to paste it here, right, in the group anyway, just because it's useful. So last week we were talking about vague contracts, right? We were here talking about selling something. I'm not sure if I can deliver it. I'm not sure if it's going to exist, etc. Where was it? Bay al-gharar here, right? Uncertain sale. So process of so we said, you can't have a vague contract. And one thing question was what about like, I sign up for this job and every 100th new employee gets $1,000 bonus, right? So then all these people are applying for the job. But when you apply for the job, what are you applying for? You're applying to do a service to get paid X amount. Now on the side, if you are the 100th new employee of this month, you will get an extra $1,000. Great, I'll do it, right? So is that vague, given that I may or may not get that extra thing? Isn't that gambling? The answer is no, because right, يغتفر في التابع ما لا يغتفر في المتبوع. Things are overlooked that in secondary matters that are not overlooked in primary ones, right? And we gave examples of that, right? So that's another exception to the rule of gharar. Okie dokie. So then we're going back to another main discussion that we all kind of generally agree on, which is the issue of, and it's in reality it's itself same issue, basically, is taking possession. What does that mean? It means you bought something. So Adib buys Muhammad Hash's house in Kenya. Does Adib have access to that house? No. So now Adib sells it to me. That is haram and invalid. Why? Because you cannot buy something you don't have access to. Okay, what does access mean? Okay, it's registered in your name at least. Okay, it's registered in your name. I have the keys, this, right? So you cannot sell something you don't have access to. So you can own something you don't have access to. That's fine. So Muhammad Hashid has access to that house. So he can sell it to Adib. Adib now owns it, not a problem. But Adib cannot sell it to somebody else until he also has access to that house. You buy a specific phone online, right? Here is a skateboard signed by Tony Hawk, this specific piece of wood. Muhammad Hashir sells it on eBay. Adib buys it, and then I buy it from Adib before it is even delivered to Adib. Can't do that because you can't buy something you don't have access to it. Okay, so it says here, Babu ma lam yuqbad min at-ta'ami wa ghayrihi. Right. So it says, أخبرنا مالك أخبرنا نافع أن حكيم بن حزم ابتاع طعاما أمر به عمر بن الخطاب للناس فباع حكيم الطعام قبل أن يستوفيه فسمع بذلك عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله عنه فرد عليه وقال لا تبع طعاما ابتعته حتى تستوفيه. Okay, so Imam Malik narrates from Nafi' that Hakim ibn Hizam bought food for some people, which Umar radiallahu anhu ordered him to do so. So he was acting as an agent. Then Hakim sold the food before he had taken possession of it. So he went, saw it, said, great, the food, meaning it also means wheat. Ta'am can mean wheat and it can mean food. So he buys this food and he has not taken it away. He has not accessed it. It's just there in the original shop, right? Doesn't have access to it. But he knows he's paid for it. He knows that it's his. Okay, so then he sells it to somebody else, right? So you can't do that. Okay, you can't do that. He says, do not sell food or wheat which you have bought until you take possession of it. Okay? You can't do that. What is the problem again? The whole problem is I don't know if you can get it. So I can buy something and not take hold of it immediately. That's fine. So now what happens is, so Muhammad Hashir has a wholesale shop, okay? 200 bikes. I go to his wholesale shop and I say, oh, great, you have 200 bikes? Great, I'll buy them. He says, sure, pay for them. So I paid for them. These 200 bikes are now mine. However, I haven't picked them up. Okay, I haven't done anything with them. So now what happens? Before I pick them up, I am not liable for them yet. So they are my property, but I haven't done qabd, there's no transfer of a physical transfer. I haven't taken them away yet. I'm not liable for them yet. So now, before I pick them up tomorrow, there's an earthquake and everything gets swallowed in the ground. It gets broken. It gets stolen. So what happens now? Muhammad Hashir gives my money back and that's it. So it's as if Muhammad Hashir lost the money, right? As opposed to there's these 200 bikes in this wholesale place. I go in there and I pay and I take it to my depot where I store my bikes or my wholesale things. And then it gets stolen. There's an earthquake. I've lost out, right? He hasn't lost anything. That's it, right? So that's called qabd, right? Taking hold of something. So before I move it into my liability, before I move it into my property or take it away from him, put it onto my truck, pick it up, take it away from him physically, then he's liable for it. So now what's going to happen is before I pick it up from his shop, I'm now going to sell it to Adib, and Adib's going to sell it to Mason. And then a Mason turns up at Muhammad Hashir's shop and says, give me my bikes. And he's like, oh, they got destroyed. So now he's going to go back to Adib and say, hey, the bikes that you sold. So then there's going to be what? This whole legal issue. So you can't do that. It's too messy. So the Sharia comes along and says, you cannot do that. You cannot sell something specific. We'll talk about selling something generic in a second, but you can't sell something specific that you don't take hold of first. If you want to sell a phone, like a specific phone, certain merchandise, whatever it is, the car, then you take it. The car's now mine. Now I'm going to sell it to somebody else. Okay. You have access to the house. You've got the keys, whatever it is. So then he continues. He says, أخبرنا مالك حدثنا نافع عن عبد الله بن عمر أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من ابتاع طعاما فلا يبيعه حتى يقبضه. Same kind of concept here. So this is Nafi' from Abdullah ibn Umar that the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever buys food, let him not sell it until he takes possession of it. Right? So again, you've ordered this 2 tons of grain from Venezuela, okay, and you got it for a good price. So now you sell it before you've even bought it. If it is specific, meaning this grain, then you can't do that. If it's generic, it's something else. And again, we'll discuss selling something generic later on. So again, what's wrong with it is the multiple chains of liability. The wheat that is still in Venezuela is mine, but the owner is liable for it because it hasn't been taken away from his storage place yet. Now I sell it to somebody else. It's his, but I'm liable for it, but I'm not really liable for it. He's liable for it. So these multiple chains of liability it's a huge problem, right? And in business, when you deal with that, you're gonna have problems, right? When you're dealing with lots of chains, and there's a problem, it's like that person doesn't even have it, right? So it's a problem. Again, when we're talking about buying something generic, it's different. We're talking about this wheat itself. Here's a big this 10 this picture, this 10 tons, these grains themselves is what I'm selling. This means something specific as opposed to generic. It's a different story. Okay, قال محمد هذا نأخذ وكذلك كل شيء بيع من طعام وغيره فلا ينبغي أن يبيعه الذي اشتراه حتى يقبضه. وكذلك قال عبد الله بن عباس قال أما الذي نهى عنه رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فهو الطعام أن يباع حتى يقبض. قال ابن عباس لا أحسب كل شيء إلا مثل ذلك. فبقول ابن عباس نأخذ الأشياء كلها مثل الطعام لا ينبغي أن يبيع المشتري شيئا اشتراه حتى يقبضه. وكذلك قول أبي حنيفة رحمه الله أنه رخص في الدور والعقار والأراضين التي لا تحول أن تباع قبل أن تقبض. وأما نحن فلا نجيز شيئا من ذلك حتى يقبض. So Imam Muhammad says we adhere to this 100%. Even though these are from Medina, not a problem. We adhere to this. And similarly, everything else which is sold, which is not grain. So when somebody says ta'am, it doesn't mean food, it means grain. Okay, so it's not quite the best translation here. Anything other than grain. Okay, so there's no difference. So, and he says, the one who buys it ought not sell it. So you can buy it, it's fine, you don't have to pick it up yet. But you can't sell it on again until you take possession of it. This is the fatwa of Abdullah ibn Abbas, not Abdullah ibn Amr. I'm not sure why it says Abdullah ibn Amr. Abdullah ibn Abbas. Okay, Abdullah ibn Abbas is in which city?
Mecca.
Mecca. Okay. So Medinan fiqh is not necessarily based on Ibn Abbas. Now and then we will see Imam Malik quoting Ibn Abbas, but by default, Ibn Abbas is from a different madhab, totally different source. Okay, so here we see that Imam Muhammad is number one, getting exposed to the Medinan school. Number two, he's also exposed to the Meccan school, and he's coming from the Kufan school, right? Now, Imam Malik was exposed to these things, but again, he preferred the Medina school. So, Imam Malik says, no, it's not like that. Imam Malik says it is grain specifically. So in the Maliki school, I can buy, so right now, I say, Adib, show me your phone that you have in your hand. He's got it. So that used phone, Adib's phone, why don't you sell it to me? Sold. Okay. Now I'm going to sell it to Muhammad Hashir. Sold. Done. So now it belongs to Muhammad Hashir. And then Muhammad Hashir sells it to Mason. Mason sells it back to Adib, and Adib just lost tons of money. Right? There we go. We went around in circles, and he just lost lots of money for no reason. So you can do that in the Maliki school. You can do that. Okay. Now, is that convenient or is that not convenient in the medical school? What do you think, Adib, Muhammad? Is that a convenience? Is that quite useful? To be able to sell something specific, this particular phone, without even taking hold, just you buy it from somebody and just sell it immediately to somebody else, even though you never took hold of it. Is that a useful dispensation?
No.
It's not.
In our modern world, yes, it's a
So I'm
useful
I'm
dispensation.
here in Malaysia. I want to buy a phone from from Adib, that specific phone, and I want to sell it straight to Mason. I don't want to have it sent to me because it's annoying. So wouldn't it be convenient for me to follow their Maliki school?
Yeah, it's convenient.
It would be. Is it halal for me to follow Maliki school? Yes. Here's an interesting point, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, there is a over the last approximately 50 years, there is this organization called AOFI. Okay, AOFI, they have been looking into Islamic finance and Islamic banking and coming up with standards that people should follow. And so they're kind of doing like fatwa, right? Modern fatwa on a lot of modern issues. Interestingly, they don't always just take the easiest approach because that's not always the best thing to do. So there are certain dispensations in the Shafi school that they could quite easily use and banks could quite easily use, but they don't. Similarly, the Maliki school, it's pretty easy on that. Like you can do that. But what did they say? They say A, everybody else disagrees with the Maliki school on that issue, even though we say it's in principle valid. No one's going to object to you following that. It's a valid position. You want to follow it, fine. The issue is then, the issue is, could it lead to harm? Right? So I buy Adib's phone. Adib is liable for it because I haven't taken it from yet. So then I sold it to Mason. Mason's not liable for yet because he hasn't taken it from me. So I am liable for Mason's phone that he owns, and Adib is liable for my phone. Now Mason sells it to Muhammad, and Muhammad sells it to somebody else, and you get this whole 20 people in a row. Each person is liable to the next person, who's liable to the next person, liable to the next person, right? That is quite complex, right? That is actually a legal trick that people do. Okay, a legal trick that people do is like it's called in like businesses they'll do this like a business acting as this, acting as this, acting as this. So like you can't actually when you want to sue the company, you have to go through like 10 lawsuits in order to get to the actual company that actually sold you that thing. It's very complex and it causes problems, communication issues, liability issues. It's complex. So interestingly, they didn't just say, oh, it exists and it's easy, therefore it's good. Easy is not always good, right? Just because a madhab has a strong, reliable, easy solution to something, that doesn't always make it good. It's not always the wisest thing to do. Does that make sense? So the mufti is it. So the mufti is trying to balance two things, or a number of things. Number one, he has to know what's going on. I have to know that I know the situation and I know that the answer or the answers. There's more than one answer, but I actually know that's the case. Number one. Number two, I'm trying to find out what's going to help this person. Number three, what are the goals of the Sharia? So trying to put these things together, right? You don't just always come along and find some kind of lame excuse, right? You guys watched Liar Liar? Do you understand? You know that film Liar Liar? Jim Carrey, no? Maybe he's too old. You know it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Mason, you remember like when basically the guy gets cheated on, and then the woman gets the custody, and he manages to make sure that she wins the case by proving that her like technically speaking, the marriage wasn't didn't count because something wrong with the driver's license or whatever, right? So it's like he won the case, right, by doing this loop, but she's the one who cheated on him, right? And she's the one who's not a good, not the ideal person to have the custody. So he should have custody, not her, right? But he managed to do it one way or the other, right? So there's a big difference between using a fiqh book to like solve a problem like liar liar versus okay, what am I trying to achieve here? You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't how useful was that? Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. So here, looking at this debate, this organization, right? It's an organization, but others may agree or disagree. They said, it was big scholars, big international scholars. They came along and said, no, we're not going to follow that. You cannot buy a car or a house until you take possession of it, right? Until you take possession of it. So when I'm doing what's called, when I'm doing an Islamic mortgage, how does an Islamic mortgage usually work? There's different ways, but Adib is selling his house. I don't have the cash to buy a house in cash. So I go to Bank Mason, which is an Islamic bank, right? Bank Tomasino. Okay, and they say, Bank Tomasino, I want you to buy Adib's house from me in cash. Okay? And then you sell it to me to be paid off in installments. Okay? So that means the bank, Bank Tomasino, has to actually take possession of the house, right? They can't just be just the finances. What's going to happen is Adib is going to like hand the keys over, so to speak, to the bank. The bank is going to have control of the house, be able to smash it down, be able to do things. Now, if anything happened to the house, who would be liable for damages? The bank. Okay. So now when I'm buying this bank from Bank Tomasino, any problems with the property, I go back to Bank Tomasino because you were the owner of the house. You sold it to me. I don't go back to Adib. Okay. So in order for Bank Tomasino to do that, they have to take liability for the house. That means they have to take possession of the house. They have the keys, they have the access to it. Adib has left, it's all empty, right? It's their house now. Now they sold it to me. Now I go back to Bank Tomasino and say, hey, you have a leak. Hey, the foundation has this problem. Okay? For which reason, Bank Tomasino, is he going to charge me more than a conventional bank or less than a conventional bank?
More.
They're going to charge me more. So you're going to come along and say, dude, I went to the Islamic bank and they said they number one didn't okay me, right? They didn't say finance me, and number two, they said I'm going to pay like 20% more than an interest bank. It's all the same. It's just a different in name. It's not all the same because Bank Tomasino did qabd of the house. They took possession of the house as discussed here, and then they took liability for the house. Okay, and now they're selling to me, and liability costs a lot of money. Being liable for something. I don't want to be liable for something. It's annoying, right? It's much more complex. Whereas a conventional bank says, Farid, you want to buy the house from Adib? Sure. How much is the house? 50,000, $500,000. Okay, we will lend you that money, and we have nothing to do with the house. Our only interest in the house is that we could sell the house if you didn't pay us the money back. But we, the bank, are not selling the house. Don't come and talk to me, Bank Mason, right, about the house, right? The pun is Mason means a house builder, right? Anyway, but that's the pun. So Bank Mason, the conventional bank, right? They're saying, hey, Fareed, we just lent you the money. Don't come and talk to me, right? We're just playing with money here. Whereas Bank Tomasino, we're an Islamic bank, and we're like, no, no, no. We actually bought the house from Adib, and yes, we're liable for the house now. It's under our name, etc. And now we are selling you this house. Okay. Now, there may be some leeway in terms of documentation, that's true, but essentially that has to happen, right? So remember when I bought my car, right? I bought my car in Jordan through an Islamic bank. What happened is I went to the DMV, to the, the equivalent of DMV in Jordan, the licensing place. I was not at the bank. We did go to the bank before. We did the paperwork with the bank, and the bank okayed it. But what happens is there's three people there. There's the owner of the car, there's me, and then there is the bank representative. So the bank representative took the key. There we go. So imagine that this happens. The guy sells, so I have an agreement with the bank that you are going to go and buy this car from this guy for $10,000 and sell it to me for $12,000 to be paid over 2 years. Okay, that was the agreement basically. So the bank is going to make $2,000 out of me, and I'm going to benefit because I can buy it in installments. So imagine, it seems kind of small, right? But imagine the owner of the car turns up with the car, okay, hands the keys over to the bank. The car gets hit by a truck, just totaled by a lorry. I turn to the bank and say, sorry, I made a promise to buy the car from you, but the car doesn't exist anymore. So promise is over. And the bank's like, oh my God, but we made a promise. I say, yeah, I know. But you're liable, right? Like you just bought a car and your car was just totaled. So you worked that out with the owner. Right? You see that? Like these are not small things. What if there's a period of a week where you could be liable, right? So the Islamic bank is doing things in a more thorough way, and therefore it's more expensive and there's more risks, and that's why they charge you more, right? Whereas the conventional bank is not doing that. Conventional bank doesn't really care what happens to the house or doesn't happen to the house. We lent you the money, end of story, right? We didn't sell you a car. I didn't sell you a car, I did not sell you a house, right? Now, according to the Malikis, you don't need to do that anyway, right? You do not need to have the bank can buy the car, never even see the car, and sell it to me. Not a problem. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So then he says, so now in the Maliki school, they're following the way of Medina. They're saying this whole discussion is specific to grain. Grain specifically, you have to go to the store that you bought it from, have it put on your camels or put on your truck and take it to your place, and then you can sell it. You can't do that. You can't sell it directly from their store, right? But everything else is not considered analogous for the Medinans, right? So in Mecca and Kufa, no. So the fatwa of Abdullah ibn Abbas in Mecca and the fatwa of the Kufans is no, it's all the same, Habibi. It's all the same. Doesn't matter if it's a grain, if it's a car, if it's a mobile phone, it's all the same. Okay. So he says, as for what the Messenger of Allah forbade, it is food, grain specifically. So I'm not saying that I'm not trying to say what the Prophet said. I'm just trying to say, is it analogous or not? Medinans is not analogous. Kufans and the Meccans is analogous. Right? Ibn Abbas said, I actually think that everything is like that. It's all the same analogy, right? So Ibn Abbas made this analogy. So we adhere to the verdict of Ibn Abbas. All things like food are like food. The purchaser ought not sell anything that he has bought until he takes possession of it. So again, we're talking about something specific, as opposed to I have a drop shipping company. Okay. Mason has a website. This website sells sportswear. Okay. You click on his website and you ordered a 10 pack of Nike socks. Okay. He gets the order. He orders it from Temu or some shipping company in China. And he orders it to be delivered to your house. Is that halal according to the Malikis?
Yes.
Is that halal according to the non-Malikis? Adib, Muhammad Hashir? What do you think?
No, it's not halal.
It is halal. Why? Because we're talking about something specific here. We're talking about these grains of rice, this wheat here. I bought this wheat here from you. I cannot sell this wheat until I move it. This car, right? As opposed to 10 generic Nike socks of this quality, of this size. So now, Mason, I clicked on Mason's website, click, I want 10 of them. He goes and clicks on another website and sends it to my house. And he keeps the difference. He didn't do anything. He'd never seen the socks in his life, right? But the issue is I didn't buy the same socks that he ordered from the other website. He did not sell to me. He sold me something generic, meaning any 10 socks like this, not this sock or that sock. It's just socks of that description. So I click on Mason's thing. He can't find the socks anymore. The company that he normally buys from doesn't have any. He owes me the socks. He could only find them from Nike itself for 3 times the price. Oh, I'm sorry, Mason, you lost money. Yeah, I lost a lot of money. Because I wasn't buying those socks of this specific sock in front of you. I was talking about something like that. Do you understand the difference? Right? So when I say, for example, this book of mine, like this book itself, you can buy this book, or I can send you 10 copies of this book, right? So I can go on to a Turath and send you 10 copies of this book. But I cannot sell, when we're talking about selling this book, I sell this book to Adib right now, and Adib sells it to Mason right now. You can't do that according to the majority of scholars. But could Adib, for example, have a website that sells books, but actually never has any books? Of course. Or right now, I could say, Adib, I want 10 copies, 10 copies of this book for X amount, right? So it says here on the back, it doesn't have a price. But anyway, imagine it had a price, I say X amount. You can do that right now. And I want them in 2 years. I want them in 2 years. Okay? So why is that a cool thing for Adib? I'm going to pay now and Adib's going to deliver it in 2 years. Why is that good for Adib? Why might that be good for me as well? In business, why might that be good for Adib and why that might be good for me? Let's make bigger money. Let's make a bigger number. I want 10,000 copies of this in 2 years. I'm not sending this
More
book. Yeah, go ahead.
more money for a deep.
He gets more money. Okay, let's say each one costs $20. Okay, so I give him 10,000. How much am I going to give him? Giving him 20 times 10,000 is.
More.
So I'm going to pay right now $200,000. Okay, now Adib owes me 10,000 copies of this book. Okay. And I come up to Adib as well. It could be useful for me to say, Adib, Habibi, I'm buying 10,000 copies of this book. You can't give me a discount? Say, sure, I'll give you a discount. I'll do each one for 15. So I'm happy because the normal price of this book is 20. Okay? And I bought it as a discount. So I'm going to give him $150,000. And I know in 2 years, he's going to deliver 10,000 copies of this book to me. I'm very happy. I got it as a discount. I just saved $50,000. He's happy because he now has $150,000 in his pocket. Okay? If he's a printing press, he can now print it and make money, which is great. What if he's not a printing press?
He loses the money.
Okay. Well, what else could he do with that money? Just thinking, I'm not talking about halal and haram, I'm talking about business. I need this in 2 years. He has $150,000 in cash right now. What can he do with $150,000 in cash? Could he invest it?
Yes.
Can invest it. He might, in his company, he needs cash, right? A down payment on a house. I don't know what he's going to do with it. Okay. Now he's invested that money, $150,000. He's played with it, played with it, played with it, played with it. He's turned it into $400,000 in 2 years. Now it's now time for deliver these books. He now goes to this company, White Thread Press, and says, "Hey, I need 10,000 copies of this book." And they say, "Okay, we're going to sell it to you for $18 for one each." And then so he spends 18 times 18 times 10,000 is what? 18 times 10,000 is
180,000.
180,000. He sends it to my address and I say, "Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin, thank you very much for doing business with you, Adib." So Adib has never seen a book in his life. He's never seen a book in his life. Okay, never. He doesn't even know what the book talks about. But I saved money because I could have bought this for $20 each and I saved money. I saved $50,000. I'm very happy. He's happy because he got cash. He needed cash. He needed liquid funds to pay off debts, to put a down payment on a house, to invest. He invested it and turned it into $400,000. 2 years later, he turned it into $400,000. He lost to me $30,000 because I bought it for $150,000. He sold it to me. It cost him 180, but excuse me, it cost me 100. It cost him 180, but I only paid him 150. But because he had that time, he could print it if he was a printing press, or he could invest it, or he could do it for something else. Okay? And so he has done this is called parallel Salam contracts. And a parallel Salam contract is a way that you can create funds. So instead of going to a bank and saying, "Guys, lend me money and I'll pay you interest," which is haram, you can just do that. Why not? There's a company that wants concrete in 6 months. There's a company that's providing it now. You're the middleman and you make money. Why not? And you play with the differences of price and time. That's what you're playing with. That's how you make the money. I have 6 months. What can I do with in 6 months? I can get this cash, buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, make the money back, and then the money that I lost is from there. But that's all based on that it's generic. You can't sell this book though that way. You can't do that. You can't this book in front of you, this copy, you can't do that. But I can buy copies of it. I can't buy this sock, but you can buy socks like it, right? T-shirts of the same color, of the same size. Does that make sense? So that's the difference between generic, and specific. Specific, you cannot buy this book from me and then sell it to somebody else without taking, this is the famous book. The first time Farid ever taught the Muwatta Imam Muhammad, he taught from this book, and it was bought by Muhammad Hashir, and it was given to Muhammad Hashir on his graduation, right? While it was in being flown to him, he sold it to somebody else. You can't do that. So now it arrives in wherever Muhammad Hashir is in the States. He now has it. It's arrived at his address. He has it. Now he sells it to Mason. Before Mason, it arrived to Mason, he sells it. You can't do that. Can't sell something specific until you have it. Something generic, by all means. But you're going to have problems, right? You're going to have problems because what if you have an issue? I'm never going to buy from. I put now, Mason's online whatever skateware is on the list of bad businesses because I ordered from him, didn't deliver. Or you sold for too cheap, so then everybody was ordering from you, and then you had to buy from all these companies, and they didn't have the amount or it was too expensive, right? So these are the systems that you have to play with in business. I'm not talking about, business is one thing, fiqh is something else. But we have to understand the two worlds and to understand what's going on there. Does that make sense? And a lot of fiqh is really to just make good business because it's trying to protect everybody's property, like good customer service. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right? So does everyone understand that the trick that Adib did to get capital, right, and to make money,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So you can do that kind of thing in the, let's say for example, like Alibaba, right? I order something for the first guy. You all know Alibaba?
Yeah, the Chinese also.
Yeah, right. So I ordered something from the first time, the other day, and you can order one thing, right? But it's usually in bulk, right? So so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start creating a stock with Alibaba, right? So I can do like this. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a bunch of really, really cheap things on Alibaba and sell them online and basically just find out how long it takes, right? Having a good understanding of which maybe particular companies, right? Because could team up with certain companies, and I'm going to start ordering from them and delivering to other people. So my website looks like I'm a store and I have things, but I don't actually have things. And I don't have to have things. I can just sell things that I don't have, and that's totally fine. So there's another hadith doesn't come here. The Prophet said, "La tabi' ma laysa indak." Don't sell what you don't have, i.e., specific things. You're going to sell this mouse here. You can't sell this mouse until it reaches you. I can sell it to you right now because I have it, but you can't sell it on until it reaches you. As opposed to a used whatever low G mouse. Yeah, you can do that's fine. Not a problem. Does that make sense? So there's a concept of qabd, the concept of having something. Okay? Everyone's happy?
Just a
Well,
curiosity.
Mason's going to start his
What
website now. I know it. You're going to start this, right? And with AI as well, you could also have a website that runs itself, right? Like if you got the good enough AI, be like, find out things that people want to buy a lot, find other companies that are selling them, and create a whole system. Like an AI can totally do this, right? Um, and so it's about creating a clever system, right? That's how many of these things are. Now we're going to go to another point. So it says Muhammad said, he says, so we adhere to so the purchaser ought not sell anything that he has bought until he takes possession of it. The verdict of Abu Hanifa, may Allah have mercy upon him, was similar, except, what's the exception for Imam Abu Hanifa? That he allowed a concession in cases of houses and properties, okay, and lands which have not been substantially altered, that they may be sold before they're taken possession of. As for us, we do not agree, we don't regard it as valid, any of that before they're taken possession of. So, a number of things here. Imam Muhammad is the student of Imam Abu Hanifa. Does he necessarily agree with him 100%? No. That's number one. Number two, there's general ideas that we can get from this book, but where do we study fiqh? Do we study fiqh in a book like this? Is this a fiqh book or is this a hadith book?
It's hadith.
Hadith book. Thank you very much. So when you're studying hadith, there'll be general ideas, general things that come up. We might talk about hadith narrators and this and that, etc. In tafsir, we talk about fiqh tangentially. It's not a fiqh book, right? So we do not take fiqh from a non-fiqh book, right? Someone's giving a khutbah. Oh, the mufti gave this. The sheikh that's a general talk. Fiqh comes from a fiqh class. There is a textbook. There are text references, right? These are key things. This is what we're going to use. We don't just use random things. Okay. It's like your friend talking about California law. It's like, well, I'm gonna take California law from policeman or a lawyer, I guess. I mean, these are people who are like actually enforcing it or actually specialized, but otherwise your friend's just talking in general, like it's not a real thing. So fiqh, hadith books talk generally about fiqh, right? But don't give specifics. So here it mentions a specific exception. So is that actually the case? So I'm now going to use this book and I'm saying that Imam Abu Hanifa said you could sell a house without taking possession of it. Except he allowed concessions in cases of houses. Okay, great. Is that the case? Where am I going to go? I'll tell you where we're going to go. Right? I'm going to go to a book like this. What is this?
The Quran.
Adib, Muhammad. This is a fiqh book. So this is called Al-Hidayah fi Sharh Bidayat al-Mubtadi. So this is a key textbook. This is like an advanced book that Hanafis study, and they're going to talk specifically about fiqh and the details. And what did Imam Abu Hanifa really mean? And did he have more than one opinion? And what were the conditions and what were not the conditions? Right? You do not take fiqh from a hadith book. You take fiqh from a fiqh book. And taught by whom? Who should teach this book, Adib and Muhammad Hashir? This is Hanafi fiqh.
Hanafi.
You're teaching
Okay.
it. Okay, so what if I teach it? Should you
This is
rely on my
problematic.
copy on it?
No,
No. So what if I don't follow a single madhab? Should you listen to me in halal and haram?
no.
Thank you very much. Right? That's all I'm trying to point out today. Right? Is somebody who is not a specialist in any particular madhab and is not representing any particular madhab is like somebody who's talking about world law, right? And they're talking about like ethics. But I'm talking about, I want to know about California, I want to know about New York business law, specific to filing this from this date to this date, something that happened a decade ago. That's a very specific thing. I need to go to the specialist, right? So when we're dealing with fiqh and someone's like, oh, I have a hadith, it's like, Habibi, that's not a source. That's not what we discuss fiqh in detail. That's why we're talking about fiqh in general, right? Oh, I have a verse of the Quran, Habibi. So fiqh comes from a specialist referring to specialist sources. That's how it is. You're a lawyer, right? You're the judge, you're the policeman or whatever it is. And like, this is the law, here, code this, right? It's got to be something specific. And then the person has to be trained, right? I'm not going to have some guy, a Japanese lecturer in international law, and he's going to give me a case on whether I have custody of my daughter or not in Belgium. You know, like he doesn't know the specifics. So the same thing, there's a lot of people who are jack of all trade, master of none, right? Jack of all trade, master of none. So here, we're doing general exposure, right? This is general exposure, not a fiqh class. It's not a fiqh class. So you want a fiqh class, you say, which madhab are we studying? Shafi'i, Maliki, Hanbali, Hanafi. Are you a specialist in that? Yeah, I'm a specialist. Is this a textbook? Yep. Okay, great. Thank you very much. That's how fiqh works. Otherwise, it's just chaotic. And there are many people like that, right? I'm going to stop the recording because I don't want to mention specific names.